Hey everyone, I'm going to do a little tutorial for you on how you can make your resin pendants, orgone pendants, basically make them shiny. Or another thing this does, it can help fix scratches on your pendants or holes in your pendant, like if there's a bubble inclusion or a bubble hole. This can fill it. So it's basically repairing your pendant or making it shiny. And all we're going to do is paint resin on top of the pendant here, and then set it on this little drip tray to let it cure. It's pretty simple, but there are some steps you got to take, so I'll go through everything you need. You need resin. I use ice resin, but you can use whatever resin you are using to create your pendant should work, as long as it's decent resin. There are some really cheap resins that will not work well doing this, but mostly all resins will work. Or else you can buy this. This is a resin gloss, and it's used specifically to make things shiny. You can buy that. It's by Envirotex, but I have found that the resin that I use works just fine. Ice resin is awesome. I love ice resin. So if you have that, great. If not, use what you got. Of course, you'll need some gloves and sticks, measuring cups, and some duct tape. The duct tape, basically all you're going to do is you're using that to tape the bottom. You want to put duct tape here, because if you don't, you will end up having the resin drip on the bottom of the pendant, and it's basically ruined because you're going to have all these raised lumps on your pendant. So you want to duct tape it like this, and also cut the duct tape to fit the pendant, because if you don't, resin will cure all around the pendant, and once again it'll probably be ruined. So I'll just show you with this pendant real quick. You just take a little piece of duct tape. You stick your pendant on there just like that. You can tear it off or cut it off. I find it easier to just tear off, and then grab your scissors and just cut around the pendant. I've already done all the other ones, so you don't have to sit there and watch me do that. I'm going to try to make this video fast, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Okay, so basically just cut all around, and then if there are some duct tape sticking up off the edges, you do want to get that off, because if you don't, resin will stick to that, and then you'll have some weird resin pieces sticking outside of your pendant at the end. This pendant, if you can see it, half of it's darker than the other, and that's because the back of it I made blue, but the blue resin leaked down through the mold and got on half of the pendant. There must have been some space there. So what I'm going to try to do today is take some blue resin and paint it on this side of the pendant, and hopefully it will level out with this. I don't know if it's going to work, but if it does, cool. If not, no big deal. Okay, so I've already mixed my resin up, and by the way, these little drip trays, you can get them online. There's many different places that sell them. I don't know offhand right away, but you can easily just search resin drip tray, something like that, and you will find it. You also want something to cover the pendants when they're finished, and the reason you want to do this is because there's lots of dust and doggy hairs or kitty hairs flying around in the air that will definitely stick to wet resin, and if that happens, then once again you have a ruined pendant, because there's going to be some hair on there that you can't get off. So you definitely want to have something to cover it. This is just a homemade thing. I don't know what it's from. I don't really remember. I think it's from like cupcakes or something, and I just cut this off. I noticed it was a good fit to my thing and cut it off and just set it there. So you can make, homemade anything will work, as long as it doesn't touch the top of your resin. You don't want it to, you don't want it to hit that. If it's wet, it'll ruin it. So just, basic things like that. You can make, if you don't have a drip tray on hand and you really want to do this right now, you can home make one. I don't have anything on hand to show you, but you can just take look in an old box of something you've purchased that has styrofoam about that thick, and then take a bunch of toothpicks and stick them in so that they're all level, and then that will be your homemade drip tray. It's really simple and cheap to do, and easy, so that's another way to do it. Another thing, I'm gonna need a straw, and I don't have one. Darn it. I usually do, but where it went? Oh, never mind, I found it. Yay, I don't have to go searching. I'll stop the video. I want to keep this video running as long as I can. Okay, so basically, here's my straw. So you're gonna want a straw because you want to blow the bubbles out of the resin. You do not want to have any bubbles on here because that will, once again, ruin the pendant. So I've already mixed my resin. It's been setting here. All the bubbles have come to the top, so I'm going to just blow the bubbles away. And it's ready to paint over the pieces. The blue resin got on this pendant too, and it's kind of smeared in there, so I'm hoping I can paint resin on this one as well. But I don't have blue resin mixed up right now. I'm probably just going to do the video for these 3 pendants here that are ready to go. And once again, they've all, just making sure that they all have the duct tape on them, because if you don't have duct tape on the bottom, you will really regret it. That is a very, very important piece to doing this. Because basically what happens is the resin drips underneath the pendant as it's drying. It will drip, and then it will all stick, and you'll have all these little lumps on your pendant. And, I mean, you could still wear it, but you definitely wouldn't want to sell it to someone like that. So you want to wear your gloves because you're definitely, this is a messy process. You will get resin on your hands, and you definitely want to have paper towels or an old rag ready to go, because you're going to want to wipe the resin off. You want wax paper. Wax paper is good to use because resin, once it cures, you can peel it right off the wax paper. So make sure your table is covered with something that isn't going to get ruined also. So I've got my, let's see if I can get this, okay. So I got my gloves on. So basically you can set your pendants just like this and drip it, or you can hold it and drip it. I'm gonna leave it sitting here because I'm hoping you guys can see it okay. And you're just gonna take, I don't want to block it, this is the difficult part here. So you're just gonna take a little little bit of resin, like just, you know, a little, you don't need a lot, and you just kind of drip it and kind of just paint. You're just kind of painting it basically. You're not using a paintbrush, but you're just kind of painting it all around the pendant. And you can use more. You can, I would start with a little and then get, you know, work your way up to more, but you really don't need a lot. A little goes a long way with this. And then you just kind of, I like to run my stick around the edges and get any excess resin, as much excess resin off as you can. And then that's pretty much it. So I'm going to just go ahead and do the other ones. You just drip it around. The biggest thing to watch for when you're doing this is you want to make sure you've got the resin on the entire pendant and you don't have any mist spots, because then it'll look like you have dents on your pendant, and that doesn't look good. So you just want to make sure that you've completely coated it all around, and I do this by holding it up to a light, but I'm not really going to be able to show you that part. But you just hold it up to a bright light and make sure that you don't see any mist spots or any bubbles. You don't want bubbles. So after I drip all around these guys, I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna use my straw and then blow bubbles all around it. And that's about it. And basically you just let the resin sit overnight, and the next day you're gonna have a really nice and shiny pendant. Another thing that this is really neat, because, hang on a second, sorry. Another thing this does is it protects your pendant, so it makes it more durable and more water resistant when you do it this way. I'm not sure why, but it just does. I've noticed over the years of doing this, it makes it, it protects it better when it has a layer like this of resin. So if your pendant is scratched, it'll definitely work. Now, I don't have a pendant with a bubble hole, but basically what happens is if you're working with the pendant and you get a bubble in the resin that you were unable to pop, sometimes it'll create a dent in the pendant. And all you would really do to fix that is just hold the pendant wherever the bubble hole is and just kind of drip a couple drops in there wherever the hole is, and then keep your pendant kind of propped up, you know, however, like sideways or however, so that the resin doesn't go dripping back out of the bubble hole. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to show you guys how to do that right at the moment. Let's see if I have one here. I'm just checking some pieces I've got. Let's see if I can show you how to do that, but no, I don't have any. Actually, it's probably a good thing that I don't have any, because that means my resin's doing what it's supposed to and not giving me bubbles. But anyway, that's basically how you do it. It's very simple and worth it because it makes your pendant look really nice. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to message me.